A new escalation warning from Moscow. Russia says Britain and France are playing with fire by supplying sensitive missile technology to Ukraine. Russian Foreign Ministry spokesperson Maria Zakharova delivered the warning on Thursday, accusing London and Paris of pushing the conflict into increasingly dangerous territory. Moscow says the latest Western military assistance could have consequences far beyond the battlefield in Ukraine. And Russia has now gone further, warning that British military facilities could potentially become targets for retaliation. Zakharova said Russia could strike British military targets both inside Ukraine and beyond its borders if Ukrainian forces continue using British-supplied missiles against Russian territory. The immediate flashpoint is the British-made Storm Shadow cruise missile. Britain announced earlier this week that it would provide Ukraine with classified technology, allowing Kyiv to begin developing its own production capability for long-range cruise missiles. France has also agreed to license technology for the European version of the weapon, known as Scalp. These missiles are designed for precision strikes at long distances and can reach targets deep inside Russian territory. For Ukraine, the technology could strengthen its ability to produce and deploy long-range weapons without relying entirely on deliveries from Western partners. For Moscow, however, the move represents a significant escalation in Western military involvement. Russia has repeatedly warned Western countries against supplying weapons to Ukraine, but Thursday's statement raises the stakes by directly identifying British military infrastructure as a potential target. Zakharova accused Britain of pursuing what she called a hostile policy toward Russia and said London's actions risk taking the conflict to an entirely new level. Moscow has also accused Britain and France of assuming greater responsibility for Ukrainian strikes because of their role in supplying advanced weapons and technology. The Kremlin's position is that Western involvement is no longer limited to conventional military aid, but increasingly supports Ukraine's ability to conduct long-range strikes against Russian territory. The warnings come amid a broader intensification of the Russia-Ukraine conflict. Ukraine has continued carrying out drone and missile strikes against targets in Russian-controlled and Russian territory, while Russia has maintained heavy missile and drone attacks against Ukrainian cities and infrastructure. The latest Russian threat also comes at a sensitive moment for NATO. Britain is a NATO member, meaning any direct attack on British military assets outside the Ukraine battlefield could carry much wider implications. However, Moscow's latest warning is specifically framed around retaliation for British military support and the use of British weapons by Ukraine. That distinction is being closely watched by European governments. Britain, meanwhile, has defended its support for Ukraine. London says its military assistance is intended to help Ukraine defend itself against Russia's invasion. The UK has been one of Kyiv's strongest European military supporters, while France has also increased its defense commitments. The latest missile technology agreement is part of a wider effort by European countries to strengthen Ukraine's domestic defense industry. For Kyiv, developing its own long-range weapons could reduce dependence on foreign stockpiles and potentially allow Ukraine to sustain its military capabilities over the longer term. But for Moscow, that same development creates a new security concern. The key question now is how far this confrontation will go. Russia's warning against Britain and France comes as Western countries continue to debate how much military support Ukraine should receive and whether restrictions should be placed on the use of Western weapons against targets inside Russia. For Ukraine, long-range strike capability remains a crucial part of its military strategy. For Russia, attacks using Western weapons on its territory cross another red line. That creates a potentially dangerous cycle. More weapons and technology for Kyiv, stronger Russian warnings, and the possibility of retaliation against Western military infrastructure.
If you like this video, then like, share and subscribe to Mirror Now.